Uniswap liquidity pools can be a very powerful way to make income on your cryptocurrency. Just take a look at this wallet. With about 96,000 bucks in liquidity, they're up $12,000. But look, if they were just holding onto their assets in the crypto market and were not deployed into these liquidity pools, they would be at a loss because their assets depreciated. But since they're in these liquidity pools, they are profitable and they're up $12,000 and they've made $22,000 in fees. This wallet is in pools like Wrapped ETH to Uni, etc. Same thing goes for this wallet. It's a bigger wallet with almost 7 million bucks in liquidity, but by being deployed into these pools, they're up over $150,000 more than they would be if they were just holding on to their assets. And they're taking advantage of blue chip to stablecoin positions like Wrapped ETH to USDT, Wrapped ETH to USDC, etc. So how can we go about finding these Uniswap positions? Well, you can go over to Uniswap, the exchange itself, and you could go over to the pool section, go to view positions, but I don't really like this method and I'll show you why. So you can scroll here and see a bunch of pools. You could even go to explore more pools, but there's not too much data. For example, you could click on this Wise to ETH pool and you can't even see how correlated the assets are to each other. You can't see if Wise is correlated to ETH or not. You also can't simulate your returns and see the potential income you could be making on your cryptocurrency assets. So that's where Metrics Finance comes into play. It's the best software for finding these liquidity provision opportunities, also simulating your returns to see the type of income you could be making, and then third, building out your portfolio. So I'm gonna go ahead and launch the app, and I'll leave a link below where you can claim a trial to the pro version of Metrics Finance if you want to check it out. But anyways, we'll go over to the Discover section at the top, and we can select our exchanges and networks. So I'll select Uniswap since that's what we're taking care of in this video, just Uniswap. And remember, I'm not a financial advisor. Nothing I say is financial advice. I'm just giving you my opinion. So then for network, we can go ahead and select all. And look, it's showing that there's over 1,400 pools, about 1,500 pools to sort through. And doing that one by one would take forever. So we want to filter out the bad pools, of course. So Metrics Finance makes this very easy. You can go to fees APR first of all, and we can look for pools that have higher than, let's just say, 14% APR. And then we can go to TVL. And when we're looking for pools, TVL can be one of those signs that shows if the pool has solid longevity and consistency. If a pool has very low TVL, it may have very low volume and other things that would cause us not to be able to earn high consistent fees. So I'm going to type in $3.5 million for a minimum TVL. And then we can also filter out some pools that have very low average daily fees. So I'm going to look for pools that have higher than $1,000 in average daily fees. And then now we have 116 pools to sort through. I'll actually go ahead and change this to 1,500 for average daily fees. Now there's about 104 pools to sort through. You can go ahead and edit these filters as you want. You could always up it to like higher than 25% APR positions, etc. But right now we have a great base before we start looking through pools. Now right off the bat, we'll see a lot of meme coin positions. So automatically, I'm just gonna filter those out of there in my head. I'm not gonna pay attention to pools like MAGA47 to Wrapped ETH or Pengu to Wrapped ETH. I have heard stories where people make money on these meme coin positions, but I'm not going to pay attention to them. I like paying attention to cryptocurrencies like Solana, USDC, that have track records behind them. So scrolling down, we can see some pools. I'm going to go to the second page, see what we have. I see Wrapped ETH to Link showing about 60% APR with about 80 million bucks in TVL. I'm going to go ahead and simulate that in a new tab. And from here, we can simulate what type of earnings we could be getting on this position. So first of all, for the deposit amount, we can go with a sample deposit amount of $15,000, for example. And then we can scroll down and we'd have to select our range. Now, this calculation range will determine how many days of data we're using for the calculation. So we can use the past 100 days of data, past 120 days of data, or we can go with something like 20 days of data. I'm going to go with 20 days of data to try to get the most accurate simulation. So then we can change our min price here and our max price. And with a range of about 116 to 154 for this position, we're looking at about 83% APR. Remember, there are risks to this investing, such as divergence loss. Just take that into consideration. So we can scroll down and see more information about the pool, such as correlation. Look at this. This pool is 99% correlated, meaning that Wrapped ETH to Link is showing 99% correlation. And without Metrics Pro, I would not be able to tell the correlation. As you saw on the Uniswap website, it did not show that. So that's just a really cool feature. We can check out the volume history to make sure there's no days with very, very low fees and volume. Here, it's looking solid. Looks like the lowest day has 15,000 bucks in fees, and on average there's like 40k, 35k in fees. So that's solid. So the next step here would be to do your research on both Wrapped ETH, Link, see what role they play in the DeFi ecosystem, and see if you want to take on exposure to the assets. If the answer is yes, you can save it to your portfolio for later. If you've learned something so far, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss an upload, so you can stay notified with the world of DeFi. Scrolling down, you can also take a look at other positions, see other wallets that are taking advantage of these liquidity pools. You can always go to the liquidity and sort by liquidity to see some pretty whale wallets with a lot of liquidity in these pools, etc. You can see if they're out of range, in range, some pretty cool things. But anyways, we can go ahead and look for some other positions. I see wrapped ETH to AV. We can go ahead, open that up. We can take a look how correlated the assets are, the volume history, etc. So scrolling down, the correlation, 93%, pretty correlated. Here the fees, it's not the most consistent. We're having days with 100K fees and then days with lower fees. But the good news is there's not really any days that are showing under 10K a day in fees. So again, we could find our range. We can go with like a 20-day calculation range again, type in our min price, our max price. I'm just using examples for this video, and say we want to supply liquidity for the min price of 9 and the max price of 12 for this range. We'd be looking at about 90% APR for this position. And as you make the range tighter, the APR goes up, as you can see. And if you make the range wider, the APR goes down. But remember, if your range is getting tighter, then there can be a higher chance that you'll end up going out of range and stop earning income on your assets until you rebalance the position. And so anyways, again, the next step would be to do your research on these assets and see if you want to take on exposure to them. And if the answer is yes, you can go ahead and do so. And once you've deployed your assets, you can go over to the track section and input a wallet, and you can see a lot of information that's really important as a liquidity provider to view. You don't want to be using spreadsheets, etc. to track your versus hodl or your asset gain or depreciation or even your APR. But Metrics Finance, the tracking section, is all for you. You can also see how close you are to going out of range, if you're close to going out of range or not, and you can see which individual pools you're profiting on and which ones you're at a loss on. So remember, if you want to take advantage of the Metrics Pro trial, you can click the link in the description down below. Comment below if you have any questions about DeFi. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell, and I'll see you in the next one.